Hi, my name is Key Fitch, and welcome to the Pink Powerhouse Show brought to you by Society Bites Radio, which is a part of the Radio Ear Network family. I have a wonderful and a beautiful guest in the studio with me today. She is a local fitness enthusiast, much like myself. We share friends, we share clients, and she's very passionate and very good at what she does. I want her to talk a little bit about her new business ventures, and she also has some other things, projects that she has going on, and a lot of good things that's coming out of her camp. And I'm so honored that she was able to come on the show today. So let me give you a little bit about her. Her name is Crystal Scherer. She believes living an active lifestyle and practicing yoga helps maintain overall mental, emotional, and physical health. A burnt out child welfare social worker, that's what she was. She was struggling with compassion fatigue and poor mental, emotional health from her personal trials, and she found that yoga helped her gain confidence. It helped her with clarity and a new community of love and support. Crystal has a Bachelor of Criminology degree, and she received her 200-hour RYT certificate after immersing herself into the jungle of Costa Rica. Ooh, I can't wait to hear about that. She enjoys helping others to step out of their comfort zone, making yoga and fitness accessible to everybody, and sharing the empowering benefits of creating a mind-body connection. Her classes incorporate movement that allows students to leave feeling stronger and more flexible on and off the mat. Welcome, Crystal. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So she does all these interesting things when she's up in the air, and she's definitely a passionate person. I want you to talk a little bit about what brought you to yoga, because that journey for me, or at least hearing, is always fascinating because it's always similar. Something happened from a personal, emotional standpoint, and yoga saved people. And so I want to hear your saving story.
Yes. Actually, I was introduced to yoga in 2011. I was in a very bad car accident. I actually couldn't walk for about a month. And my chiropractor recommended that I try yoga. So I did start yoga as more of a physical practice for the physical healing benefits. And as time went on, I still used it here and there, again, just for the physical benefits. And I was more of an intense workout style person. I liked to run. I liked to lift weights. So the mindfulness and the slowness of some yoga classes didn't really speak to me at the time. And then as time progressed and as I continued on in my child welfare journey, I was having to battle the compassion fatigue that you mentioned. I was actually teaching compassion fatigue and what trauma means to the child welfare case managers when I realized I was starting to describe myself.
Oh, wow.
And yes, yeah. I was, on my way home because our office didn't have any windows or anything, and I knew that going into the position. But I was just crying and very, very unhappy. I was starting to really lose empathy for a lot of personal relationships that I had, personal trials that people were having, and I was just completely unable to relate because I was comparing their stories to the disastrous stories
that you were monitoring these cases. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I realized one day, actually, my mother said to me, "You need to leave this job. It's changing you." Mm-hmm. And I started to take that to heart, for sure. And to be honest with you, what was probably the biggest push as far as getting into an RYT program was I had a concussion last year, and then I had another injury after that, a spinal injury after that. And
were these all related to the car accident, or just
no, the
all
car
completely different?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. They do believe that the spinal injury was related to the concussion. It was partially caused by that because it was a very can't think of the word right now, but they believe that I had made this really silly mistake that caused it because I had been having such trouble focusing, and so they related all of that back to the concussion. Okay. So when I finally went to the chiropractor, they said, have you been emotional over the past few months? Have you been thinking about, or have you been jumping into different things and making quick decisions and
Impulsive.
Thank you very much. Yes, impulsive. Have you been emotional? Have you been impulsive? I said, well, I just quit my job and decided to move to the jungle for 3 weeks with a bunch of people that I don't know.
I don't know. Do you think that's impulsive?
So you tell me. And so he decided, yes, that this was all related back to the concussion. And so they helped me work through that. And then, yes, I did go into the jungle. I really didn't know what I was searching for when I got there. To be honest with you, I actually cried for about the first 48 hours because I was asking myself, what am I doing here? Yeah. What brought me here? It was at any given moment, it was an experience. I returned home and people would always ask, how was your yoga retreat? How was your, how was your vacation? And I'm like, that was not, I know I was gone to Costa Rica for 3 weeks, but by the end of it, I wasn't even sure if I liked yoga anymore because I was just exhausted. It was more like a yoga boot camp.
Okay.
We dove deep and pulled out everything. And I think that is when, I had started to use yoga as a tool to be able to separate myself and take time for myself before going. But really when I came home from that and while I was there, I was able to work through a lot of past things that I had built up walls.
While you were at the retreat, you mean?
Yeah. While I was at the yoga school, I was able to kind of break through those things and had a lot of major breakthroughs for my life. And I was eager to return home and be able to really open up my heart. And with that, I guess now I've just really taken on the idea that yoga has saved my life.
And so now it's kind of been your mission now to kind of share that.
Yes.
Because it's definitely, definitely has the healing properties, both physically and emotionally. Right.
Yes.
And so your pages are beautiful. Your posts are beautiful because you can certainly see, you put so much of yourself out there. You're an open book. Yes. And I think that draws people to you because there's a realness about you and there's an honest quality about you. So, and it makes people wonder, how did she get to that place? And for you, it's been yoga. And so you worked 8 years as a child welfare, and that can be taxing. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
And so the first job post doing that, was it all yoga from that standpoint? Was it strictly yoga or did you do something else in between?
I wasn't really sure. I went back to work at an all-women's facility.
Okay.
And I was operations manager there. So I would, I wasn't necessarily thinking I was just going to do yoga at that point. Once I left the job, it was about August, and I didn't go to yoga school until October.
Okay.
So I had about a month there where I was not really sure. I do also teach strength training and other group fitness classes. Yes. So I was doing that and working as operations manager and still am part-time.
Okay.
But I really dove into even while I was at yoga school, I thought I was only going to come home and teach yoga about once a week. And things just started, it was more opportunities just kept coming up. And like you said, I am kind of an open book. So I was taking them. And so people were reaching out to me and I was taking those opportunities and trying to figure out where I fit in and what I liked. And that's kind of what led me to opening the studio.
And we're going to get to that because that's a big part that I want to talk to you. And I always, as an entrepreneur, and you are too, I always like to hear about people's paths and what kept them going because it's not always easy and it doesn't come quickly sometimes, right? Sometimes you have to pay your dues some kind of way, and some of the grunt work that is required up front. People sometimes need to understand that part, but you also do aerial silks. Tell me a little bit about that because that's actually pretty cool.
That's probably when I more so started to get into the mental aspect of yoga, to be honest with you, because our teacher would teach a yoga class before the aerial class. Okay. And so I would attend that, so I would be kind of warmed up and ready for the aerial class, and then that's when I started to fall in love also again with the mat yoga. Then, so then I started teaching the aerial classes, and I practiced for a couple years before I started teaching, but I didn't feel like I was good enough for a long time to be able to do that. And I kept having people ask me to teach them, and I kept declining and saying, I'm not a teacher, and I am not going to be a teacher. And I'd invite them to
go to a class with you.
To a class with me, right?
Yeah.
Because I had a fabulous teacher, and they wouldn't. And I realized that people were too intimidated. I don't know if it was because of it's in the middle of a gym when there's people walking by and seeing you, or because the teacher was very, very qualified. She'd been in the circus, and she, and she's very flexible, and I think they saw me kind of fumbling through it. I don't want to necessarily say fumbling through it, but not as flexible, not necessarily as graceful, and just more having fun with it. And so
more relatable to them, at least.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. A little more relatable. And so I decided to go through the training, and I decided to go through the training a week before the training was being held. Somebody had convinced me to finally do it. I think it was the turning point of somebody saying, well, I'm not going to do it unless you'll teach me.
There you go.
And I said, okay,
well, I guess I'm going.
Yeah, I get it now. Okay, I get it now. And so I started teaching, and I taught pretty steadily for about 8 months. And really the biggest thing behind all of that, I didn't really have to do much marketing, because I would take a picture of them when they got into a pose, and they would post it, and people would just go nuts. Yeah, exactly. And then I just started creating this album so other people could see that you can do this. And that first class was absolutely modified, so absolutely anybody could do it. Yeah. I had all ages, shapes, sizes, anybody, and the smiles on everyone's face when they got into a posture was just, it was amazing. It was this amazing feeling, obviously for them, but also for me to be able to help bring that into people's lives and really let them be able to see that they can do it.
That's pretty awesome. And you still do that. So for you all don't know, she would go in like different locations with her silks, right?
Yeah.
And do you have a schedule of when you do it? I know you usually shoot out events. You market that way, but do you have kind of standard times a year, or just kind of? It
just kind of comes and goes. It's kind of just on the side at this point. If people, I have it up on the website. If people are interested in booking it, they can. And my availability on there. I do like to do it outside because it's just so beautiful being in the trees.
Yeah, and tell them some of the places that you've done outside, just to get an idea.
So local parks. Yeah. Really, I have done it out at the beach as well. Mm-hmm. And so it's just beautiful.
And it's a beautiful sight to see, and it looks pretty amazing. It looks fun. So, but let's talk now about your latest business venture, and how did that all come about? Because what I'm hearing with you is just things just kind of happen, right?
That impulsive
that impulsive piece is there. And what's so funny and what's common also in your story is like, I don't want to do that. I'm not doing that. Okay, I guess I'm doing it. Right? So it's like that's a common thing.
Yes.
And it's like you may not have, see where your path is taking you, but obviously other people kind of help you go on your path because you were a little hesitant to go ahead and, take the bull by the horn. So let's talk about the studio, because it happened fast, right?
2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks.
I woke up one morning and I did not plan on later that day agreeing to a space to be my own studio.
So let's talk about the process of even before you woke up. In the back of your mind, you were thinking, I'm going to open a studio eventually, or that just never even come across your mind?
So I remember there was a day, because I was holding an event. I had held a beach cleanup in April, and I remember sitting there telling someone, I'm not good enough to open a studio.
So then that's another common theme. So let's hear. I'm not good enough to teach yoga. I'm not good enough to teach silk, and I can't open a yoga studio.
Yeah. I'm human. And I
so
amazing,
had a lot of self-doubt. And you're killing it all. Though that's what's so funny. Like, so this is where I think good energy has found you, right? Because you could that self-doubt could have easily completely put an end to all of this, or you wouldn't even start it. But obviously there's some good energy around you.
Yes, absolutely.
That's greater than your self-doubt. That makes sense. But anyway, let's talk about, you said, I can't open a studio. So that's what you were telling yourself.
Yeah. And so I had agreed to try out a shared space idea. And I have also, over the past few months, been a part of a few studios opening.
Okay.
And I've made very